will be going from pole position. And the Copa Shell Am champion is Andrew Moon. So those two champions have been crowned. Where the real interest is in Copa Shell, where Kazuyuki Yamaguchi and Makoto Fujiwara and Yanbin Singh and Michael Choi are all in with a very strong chance of taking the Copa Shell Championship. Here's where we've been this year. Melbourne in support of F1, Sepang, Malaysia, Shanghai, Motegi, Fuji and Singapore. And here we are in Mugello for the end of the racing season for 2019. And the 2020 season looks a brilliant one as well. Asia Pacific have delivered some great racing across the season. And here we are then in Mugello. We're about an hour from Florence and maybe an hour and 10 from Bologna, depending on traffic and how keen you are on the loud pedal. We're situated in Scarperia e San Piero here in Tuscany, and the place has been elated to welcome once again the finale Mondiali event. 5.2 kilometers, quite a technical track. 14 turns, 6 of them left, 8 of them right-handers. Sector 1 contains 3 turns. Sector 2, 6, and Sector 3, 5 turns. Fastest lap in a Ferrari Challenge car, a 1:49.706. That's race lap. 5.2 kilometers then. And thankfully, weather conditions today vastly superior to what we experienced yesterday. Air temperature 21 degrees, track temperature 18 degrees, and 30 minutes of racing to come from the Asia Pacific Ferrari Challenge cars. Philippe Pret then has already sealed the Trofeo Pirelli AM Championship. He is P1, driving for Blackbird Concessionaires Hong Kong. And of course, Philippe's son, Louis, races in the EU Challenge. So let's take a look at exactly where we are then for the Mugello circuit. So there we have it, and here we have the grid assembled. At this point, it's only right and proper for me to welcome into the commentary booth here Le Mans winner, absolute superstar driver, Daniel Serra. Thank you for being with us. We're delighted that you're here.
Hello everyone, I'm really happy to be here doing my first commentary job. I'm super excited to see the race. Qualifying was in damn conditions this morning, yes. So I think a lot of things can happen during the race because drivers will be learning and improving as they didn't have a lot of time on the dry, so it's going to be a nice race. Something that drivers often say to me is that tracks evolve, they change, and sometimes that can be almost lap after lap. Presumably, as rubber goes down, the whole feel of the track can change. Yeah, this is true, and especially after the rain we had yesterday, it was raining a lot, so the track is evolving and it's getting better today with so many cars going around, so for sure they have to adapt, and I think this is a race that who adapt faster will be succeed. We must talk about you in your native Brazil, of course. You're famed for racing in stock cars. But of course, Le Mans, the success this year, taking the win at that famed 24-hour race, that must have been, if not the, certainly a career highlight. Daniel? No, for sure. It's one of the most important achievements I have in my career. Especially achieving this with Ferrari is something really emotional and really nice for me. I've been driving Ferraris for a while, but winning for Ferrari is something really special. Well, many congratulations to you. And we look forward to your inspired and informative comments during the course of the race. Here's the grid in full. Philippe Pret, champion, goes from P1. Yanbin Singh alongside, then it's Gomax, and then it's Fujiwara and Imada will be going from P4 and P5. Ahead of Wong, who goes from P6 on the grid.
Yamaguchi P7, then it's Park and Wu and Ken Chen goes from P10 with David Dicker. Good to see David back on the grid, going from P11 on the grid, and P12 is Andrew Moon ahead of Iwatani and Choi and Moss from Greypool, Birmingham. Welcome. Then it's Lau before we see the likes of Jin Xiaoru, Adas Xiao and Kanticha Kimsiri, as you can see, bringing up the rear of the grid. So the track here, which Daniel does not know brilliantly, but of course you'll be part of the Ferrari show. I hope I'm not giving away any secrets come Sunday, so you're going to learn it pretty quickly. It's a track that is quite a challenge. It's quite technical in parts, and of course has that huge straight from the final turn to turn number 1, where in these 488 cars, the speed is extraordinary, up to 283, I think, through the speed trap. Brilliant place.
Oh, yes, exactly. I never been, to be honest, this is my first time at Mugello. I never been here. I never did one lap, and I can't wait to do one lap because the track seems really, really nice. Going downhill, uphill, fast corners. So it's a track that always produces like great racing. It's not super easy to overtake, but it's easy to make the guy in front do a mistake. So let's see the strategy of the drivers.
Well, I think you've nailed that absolutely correctly. I think to enable an overtake here, you need to provoke and push someone into making an error ahead of you. And let's see if during the course of this race that unfolds. So 20 cars on the grid then for this Asia Pacific Ferrari Challenge race. It's race 1 of 2 across the weekend because we round out the seasons across our regions, North America, Asia Pacific and Europe on Friday and Saturday. Then, of course, on Sunday, uniquely with Ferrari, Daniel, we take the very best of all the drivers from every region and, of course, put them into what I call the Gold Roof race. It's the world final race, you know. And again, like Le Mans 24 Hour, it's one of those must-have achievements. You need to win the world final, and therefore I can just imagine how you felt at the Sauve going back to, was it May or was it June? In the 24-hour race this year. Was it May or June? June. I was there, of course, because we had the Ferrari Challenge there. In fairness, I was also part of the brilliant drivers' parade around the streets of Le Mans. Yeah. And that is something special because there's thousands of people, and for you as a driver and a Ferrari driver, that must feel very special, just to be part of that whole experience. Yeah,
for sure. Like the parade is something really special because, like, we are during the race weekend, we are so focused, just thinking about racing, going fast, strategy, and when you can stop for a while and you see all that people that enjoy and cheer for you. Is correct?
Yes, absolutely right.
Cheer for you, and you have this contact is always nice.
Brazil, going from France to Brazil, always strikes me, of course, with the legendary names that we've had from Brazil, is something of a hugely passionate country in terms of their support. We'll speak about that in just a moment. So yes, when you're racing in your native Brazil, that passion must be, I regret to say I've never been to Brazil, but I imagine that the supporters and race fans are hugely enthusiastic.
Yeah, for sure. Like people like racing in Brazil. Of course, we are a bit not as big as soccer, but I think this is normal. Brazil is
every country,
soccer,
yes.
Exactly. But people like the races are always crowded. People enjoy stock car. It's like I think we are racing for 40 years, something like this.
Yes.
So it's like a big championship, and it's super competitive, and people enjoy it.
Brilliant. Well, the Hublot safety car has left the grid, and the formation lap gets underway now as the cars are released then for 30 minutes of racing. First race of 2, barring the world final for the Ferrari Challenge Asia Pacific drivers. The mix of Trofeo Pirelli Am and Shell drivers who will perform on this 5.2 kilometer circuit here in Mugello. So the Hublot safety car leads them away. It's always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge. All the social media at the top of the screen. If you want to be part of the Ferrari family, be part of the Finale Mondiale weekend. then engage with the social media, all at the top of the screen for you. So the cars then making their way to catch up the Hublot safety car, then they will grid up side by side, and there you can see the looks of anxiety and tension ahead of the start of the race. Philippe Pret going from P1, alongside will be Yanbin Singh, then it will be Gomax and Makoto Fujiwara ahead of Nobuhiro Imada and Vincent Duong, and Yamaguchi will be going from P7 with Park P8, Wu P9, then Kent Chen going from P10, and the Continental cars, Auckland driver David Dicker will be going from P11 on the grid. Some of the very early spectators here that make their way into the track to enjoy the race action, and of course in the paddock there's so much to enjoy, and happy smiling faces is what I meant to say, everywhere. There is the Hublot safety car then, and Philippe Pret warming his tyres up then. He's already done a fantastic job. He's been uber supreme during the course of the season and is a champion, finishing on some 228 points. Copa Am champion is Andrew Moon on 193, but in Copa Shell there's a four-way fight for honours between Kazuyuki Yamaguchi and Makoto Fujiwara, Yanbin Singh and Michael Joy. There he is, 11 points. Just 159 to 148 separates P1 through to P4 in terms of that Copa Shell Championship. So now then, the cars are invited to grid up, and we allow the music to build the anticipation for Asia Pacific Ferrari Challenge Race 1 to come. The cars then round the final turn, the Buccini turn, which is turn number 14. We throw the lighting gantry to the top left-hand side of the screen for you. Hublot safety car peels off into the pit lane, and that means the cars go side by side. Ready for 30 minutes of race action to come. The tension builds, so does the anticipation as the lights go green. Let's go racing! And almost three abreast, almost four abreast going into turn number 1. This could all go horribly wrong, but thankfully everybody holds it together, and wow, what a start that was. Philippe Pret relegated to P3 right at the start of the race because it was a supreme start from Gomax, who certainly did go. And then the rest of the cars follow through turns 2 and 3 now in this opening lap of the Ferrari Challenge. And now Philippe Pret's P3 has been lost to Yanbin Singh, who goes to P3. Philippe Pret relegated to P4. Then it's Park and Yamaguchi. Wow, what a start to this race then. Everybody meaning business, and especially Gomax, who really got a blistering start. No information to say that the start is under investigation. Race directors and race control for the moment think that the start was satisfactory, and we've got no reason to suggest any otherwise. Gomax leading by 7/10 already over Makoto Fujiwara, and Gomax sets the fastest sector in sector 2, and a fight going on here, as you can see, as Jay Park in the 525 car on the outside there. And just as I mentioned that everyone looked like the start was okay, the start is under investigation. Iwatani is running in that P13 position. David Decker P14 at the moment. Bear in mind that's the race positions overall as opposed to within class. And we'll get to the top 3 in class in just a few moments. Let the cars settle down first of all and get their first competitive lap here at Mugello underway. Some gorgeous liveries across these phenomenal 488 cars, especially Andrew Moon's. I absolutely love the colour scheme. So let's put the first lap in the book then as the cars cross the timing line. Gomax with 5/10 over Makoto Fujiwara. Philip Pret gets past Yan Bingzing to pick up that P3 place once again, and Yan Bingzing relegated to P4. Then it's Yamaguchi in P5. But Gomax, who's got it all seemingly under control. Philip Pret now with work to do to try and get back to the position that he knows so well, and that, of course, is P1, but for the moment it is P3. Daniel Serra, what an opening lap or so.
Yeah, I have to say the first corner was quite impressive in a 4 line. Luckily, anything wrong happened, and now I think we're going to have a nice race because the pole position fell to 4. Now he's already 3, and he for sure he wants to be back in P1.
Yeah, he's going to be doing the chasing, isn't he? So Philip Pret then chases down Makoto Fujiwara. There you can see the 424 car of Max, who is leading the race. There he is, that P1 driver with Makoto Fujiwara in P2. So it's a Trofeo Pirelli AM driver that's leading the race ahead of a Shell driver. And then it's Philip Pret who is running in P3 at the moment. And there the 452 car that is driven by Nobuhiro Imada. And the Shell standings, Fujiwara, Zing, and Yamaguchi. Just being told that under investigation is Gomax. Now, and a warning flag. Warning flag being given to car number 424, which is the race leader. Now, it's here. Did he jump the start, do you think, Daniel?
He was starting P3, correct?
Yes.
Let's see what happened. Maybe he was not exactly behind the pole position, and you need to be exactly behind, you know, aligned. So maybe something happened there. Let's see.
He pulls out, look, and he gets a little bit of a flyer, doesn't he?
Or maybe he has the warning flag because now they touch a little bit before corner 1. So he tried to come back to have a good position for corner 1, and he didn't realize they were in 4.
Yes.
So I think this is why he has a warning flag.
Okay, well, a warning flag is not a penalty, is it? It is precisely that. It's just a warning. But does that mean that the race director is keeping a special eye on you, doesn't it?
Usually it says that you don't have another chance.
Fair point, yes. Fair point. Well, that we've seen the start in replay then, and thanks very much to our TV director for making sure that we could take a look at that. But as it stands at the moment, Gomax is leading. Philip Pret now is P2, having got past Makoto Fujiwara. So Philip Pret here in P2, having won the championship already. Now, Daniel, in a racing driver's psyche, even though you've won the championship, if you are in a race, you want P1. P2 isn't good enough, is it?
It's not good enough, and I have to say, sometimes it's easier after you win the championship, you know, because then you just want to win the race. It doesn't matter about the points. You don't need to think about the other drivers that are fighting with you for the championship. The only thing that you want is to win the race.
Well, let's see. He's got 1.6 seconds to make up. That's quite a big margin that Gomax has put between himself and P1 and P2 at the moment, but Fujiwara, of course, although he's 3rd on track, is leading in class, which is critical, ahead of Yan Bingzing and Yamaguchi. Those are the P1, 2 and 3 within the Shell drivers class. But in terms of Trofeo Pirelli AM, even though Philip Pret, who is P2, has won the championship, he's P2 in the race. It was 1.6 seconds the last time they crossed the timing line. Let's see what the gap is now. It's 1.5, so he's moving a little bit closer, but Gomax will be aware of that as well, and he will be doing everything he can to put as much space between himself and Philip Pret as he possibly can. There is the 568 car of Yan Bingzing, which is currently running P4 on the track, but he's P2 in class, behind Makoto Fujiwara. Reminder to you that you're watching the Asian Pacific Ferrari Challenge, the brilliant Asian Pacific drivers then, as they get about their first race of the weekend here. And on the inside there, that was a good move by the 586 car of Min Xiao. And basically what he did there, he just put his car to the inside so that, you know, when you want to turn in, actually the gap you want to turn into is full of another car. You're not going to be able to, are you?
Yes, exactly. And like here you have a lot of like sequence of corners, so you need to make sure that you drive properly, so otherwise he can come back in the next corner.
So the exit of one turn actually gives you the proper entry for the next turn.
Yes, exactly. So if you don't do it properly in the first one, he can come back in the next one, because then he has the priority. So it was a nice move from the driver.
Well, Gomax has responded to Philippe Pret, and Gomax was just a tenth quicker than Philippe Pret last time around, so the gap goes to 1.8. This is Kent Chen then, who is leading in terms of Shell AM drivers in that lovely liveried car. Now, you've seen on the screen that the start is, there's going to be no further action following the start, so whatever happened at the start and was under investigation initially is not going to be taken any further. So this the 563 car running wide and into the gravel. Now, at this point, Daniel, I imagine you just have to keep your foot planted. And, of course, when you make your way on the track, for everyone that's following that particular car, you're going to be hailed with bits of stone that you've dragged back out onto the track. Yeah,
it's not good for the other cars, and especially for him, because he lost time. He has the tires completely dirty now. He'll take a few corners to clean it, so he needs to be patient now.
That was Vincent Wong, I think, who made his way through the gravel. And, you know, when you're on this knife edge, Daniel, you're giving it 10 tenths, but actually when you give it 11 tenths, sometimes it can just, that knife edge, you can go over it, can't you?
Yeah, like we are always driving on the limit, but you need to think that you have like 30-minute race. It's not about one lap, it's not a qualifying lap, and it's about being consistent from lap 1 to the last one. This is what makes the difference, you know, knowing how to save the tires, to be consistent through all these things.
And of course, at the start of the program, we were talking about the evolution of the track. Of course, what we also have to consider is that the car changes during the race because the fuel load goes down, therefore it reduces the weight. But at the same time, your tyres wear a bit more, so the characteristics of the car can change lap by lap, perhaps, or...
Yes, exactly. The car changed more than the track in 30 minutes.
Yes.
With the tire degradation and the fuel. But I have to say, I think in this track, the main thing that they need to think about is the tire degradation. Because sometimes, like we saw Philippe, that he wants to come back for sure for the first position, but he needs to think that he needs to do it progressively and not in one lap, because in the end of the race, they will suffer a bit with traction.
And what we also see is that, particularly here at Mugello, I have always been taught by racing drivers in your position that have been alongside me that super smooth is always super quick, Dave. If you become too aggressive and start taking more and more curb, and you're stressing so many components of the car, and you're also taking yet more out of those tyres, but I assume that you have to manage that quest yourself and think, you know what, I'm better off being smoother here and consistent.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes being smooth is being faster, you know?
Yes.
You cannot go, as soon as you go a lot on the curbs or you are sliding a lot, you start to overheat the tire, and to bring the temperature down again is not easy.
Understood. So we have two Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, P1 and P2, in the race overall at the moment. That's Gomax and Philippe Pret. There's 2.5 seconds between the two of those. Then we have three Shell drivers together, Makoto Fujiwara, Yanbin Xing and Kazuki Yamaguchi. And then the best of the AM drivers with regards to Shell is Kent Chen ahead of Andrew Moon and Ray Wu. But we're watching this battle at the moment, which is a bit further back. It's between Jinciaro Liu and Alex Moss. A good battle it is that's ensuing as well. So you can see there in the impressions down there, that's on the Kessel Racing pit wall. And every driver looking at every opportunity to try and make a move here. And that was Andrew Moon just taking a look at the inside of the car ahead of him, which is the Kent Chen car. Oh, and Kent Chen makes a mistake. That plays into the hands, surely, of Andrew Moon. And sure enough, Andrew Moon, but then he bails out of it because there would have been a touch between the two of them, and that was very discretionary of him.
Yeah, like, it's a difficult situation. When you are committed to overtake, you have to go for it. You know, you cannot. Because sometimes you see the other driver like closing the door a bit before he would do it normally.
Yes.
And your first instinct is to try to brake more. But if you want to go, you have to go. Otherwise, it's going to be a contact on the rear, and you'll probably be penalized for that.
You can be super defensive, can't you? If you're under threat. you can make that car a bit wider than it really is, can't you, Daniel?
Yeah, you have the way. There is some ways to do it more difficult, but I think the best defense is attacking. So let's see if he can put a gap now.
He's in this difficult position, Andrew Moon, because he's trying to attack ahead, but of course he's got to defend as well from Ray Wu, who's right behind him, and he's almost like a viper ready to pounce, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you are trying to overtake, but you have someone like on your bumper.
Yes.
And it's not an easy life.
Ooh, that was a nice bit of oversteer there, almost a power slide that Ray Wu held on to that car, which is the orange-coloured 555 car that we're looking at the moment. This is a brilliant battle that's going on at the moment. Andrew Moon is right in the middle of it. Ray Wu is right behind, and Ken Chen is the car that's leading that little battle at the moment. This is a three-way fight going on in terms of Shell Am drivers, and it is for P1, 2 and 3 in terms of Shell Am. It's P9, 10 and 11 in the race. And, the one that's looking really lively here, in my opinion, is Ray Wu in the 555 car, who's really... Now, that was an example of Andrew Moon making that car a bit wider than it was, and
Yeah, and you can see that Adas Ray Wu is much faster than the car in front, so he needs to overtake as fast as he can. Otherwise, the guy in front will put a gap and he won't fight for the lead.
And of course, who this is helping is Kent Chen, who is the first of those three. Because the more those two fight behind him, he's just able to get up the road, isn't he?
This is why he needs to do the move as fast as he can.
Well, he's certainly tried, and let's keep our eyes on this. This is by far and away the most exciting battle that we're watching at the moment. And this is for the honours of P1, 2 and 3 in terms of Shell Am. Andrew Moon in the green and white car, and then in the orangey goldy 555 car, it is the Blackbird Concessionaires driver, Ray Wu. Blackbird Concessionaires, of course, who run the Philippe Pret car as well, who's currently running in P2. And now this long drag race into turn number 1. And there's a big elevation change here as you climb uphill, heading towards turn number 1. And once you get into turn number 1, you continue climbing. So this battle for P1 as he takes a look at the outside. Now, I have seen it done here. Drivers overtaking around. And I think Andrew Moon was a little unfair there because he just leant on him a little, didn't he?
I think he was on the limit, to be honest. It's racing, you know?
Okay.
Going outside maybe is not the best choice for corner 1. If you can keep outside, then you have the preference for corner 2. But I think next time, if you try to dive inside, it will be a better move.
Okay. Message on radio to the 555 driver, Ray Wu. Daniel Serra says, do it on the inside, friend. That's where you've got to do it. He's really close to him, isn't he? And wherever he's pushing it at the moment. And of course, what this does, of course, it keeps that pressure on Andrew Moon, who's presumably he's having to use the rear view mirror quite a lot as well to make sure that he can defend in the right place.
Yes, correct. And as I told you, sometimes you cannot overtake, but you can make the guy in front do a mistake.
Yes.
So he needs to keep the pressure on.
Well, the pressure is remaining at the moment. And trying to make haste his escape, although not quite as quickly as we thought, was Ken Chen. And we just cut away from that shot, and I think he was just taking a look at the inside then. This is the battle for P6 that we were watching between Wong and David Dicker, but through the chicane they come then, and still, despite everything that Ray Wu has been able to throw at Moon ahead of him, he's not been able to find a way by. We've reached the half distance in the race, and all of a sudden now Ken Chen is under a little bit of threat for the race lead, I believe, Daniel. Yeah, it's funny how it's changed.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see how different lines you can do in the last corner. You see a completely different line from Kent, and he didn't lose any time.
Just looking at the point situation, that if everything were to finish as we are now, he listened to you, Daniel Serra, he went for the inside.
Let's see if he can finish the move. Yeah, nice move.
There you go. Listen to a Le Mans winner and you can get an overtake done. We should charge for that, you know. Anyway, so now Ray Wu is P2. So I think Ken Chen is going to be under severe pressure here as Ray Wu takes not only the rumble strips, but the sausage curbs and just a bit of everything else as well as he threw that car through the chicane. And Ken Chen really under pressure. This is the race in Shell Am. Oh, taking a look at the inside again, but there was more momentum there from Ken Chen, who was able to keep that momentum. There is no doubt about it. Ray Wu has got some pace in that 488 Challenge car, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure he is the fastest one in the Shell M now. But as you said, it's easier to make the car wider. So let's see if he is able to. One thing is to finish the gap, and the other thing is to overtake. So let's see if he's able to do it.
Oh no, there was a little bit of well, it was a bit more than a love tap, wasn't it? A little bit of contact there between the two of them. That's how keen Ray Wu is to get by Kent Chen. And this is perhaps allowing Andrew Moon back into the battle a little bit.
Yes, of course, but he needs to be patient because clearly he has much more pace.
Yes.
So he just needs to find the right moment to overtake.
Alongside us in comms is Daniel Serra then doing a brilliant job in terms of English language and also telling us exactly what people should be doing. The gap between P1 and P2, just 2/10, well, just under 3/10 if I'm being absolutely accurate, as they head into turn number 1 now. There's already been a little bit of contact, but now a gap is opened up and surely that allows a bit of oversteer there. Oh, and now to the inside. That was a late move to the inside as well. Through the chicane they go, and oh, on the curbs, grass, astro, you name it. It's not only tarmac that is for racing as far as Ray Wu is concerned. You can see him absolutely fighting with the steering wheel here again over those sausage curbs, and now Andrew Moon is right on the back of him. So all of a sudden, the hunter could become the hunted. And he's looking at every single gap there is, Daniel, and where?
Yeah, for sure he wants to win. He's trying as hard as he can. And as you said, like now he needs to think about the car behind him because he's again back on the bumper.
And precisely with that last sequence that we saw, it completely reinforced what you were saying, how if you try and attack through the exit of a turn, it can compromise your entry into the next one because of that flowing sequence.
Exactly. So it's easier to make a mistake. So you need to be smooth and don't overdrive it.
Well, here in replay, you can see just how hard he is trying. I mean, I'm tempted to say I'm not the race director, but there's potentially a track limits issue there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it was better not to finish the move, otherwise he could be penalized for track limits.
So for the moment then, Ken Chen stays ahead. Here comes the drag between the final turn to turn number 1 now, as we reach the final 10 minutes of this race, which has produced, well, action aplenty, but mostly in the midfield, it has to be said. And this battle between Ken Chen and Ray Wu then, as again, Chen takes a completely different line through there in terms of the entry into that turn number 1, but he seems to be able to carry more speed. And that's what perhaps frustrates Ray Wu, who is not able to find a way past. And whilst Andrew Moon was back in the fight again for a few moments, he appears to have dropped back again as Ken Chen and Ray Wu continue their fast and furious fight between themselves. But I have to say, I'm really, really impressed with Ken Chen here, Daniel, who has not made a mistake and he's not yielded to the pressure of the car behind him.
No, exactly. He's doing a good job because it's not easy to have someone with more pace behind you and be able to do like good laps and good lines with so much pressure. He didn't do a mistake. He didn't give any chance. But we still have 8 minutes to go.
Yes, it's not over yet, is it? But at the front of the pack, Gomax continues to lead. He's just very nearly 3 seconds ahead of Philippe Pret in terms of Trofeo Pirelli Am. In terms of Shell, Makoto Fujiwara is leading ahead of Kazuyuki Yamaguchi. But we go back to this Shell Am classification. Now, bear in mind, in terms of Shell Am, the champion is Andrew Moon, who is currently P3 at the moment in the green and white car. Then ahead of him in the orange and white 488 is Ray Wu, as Andrew Moon there lost the back end of the car, but that was a good save, Daniel.
Yes, but you see that he wants the second position back. He's pushing a lot, and it's a nice race between these three cars.
It's been an amazing, I mean, lap after lap after lap. We've hardly been able to breathe because there has been so much going on. And this is the situation with regards to the race order. There you can see the 588 car. And that is one of the more lively liveries, if you like, from Choi. Really like that combination of purple and green. It seems to work on the 488, that's for sure. A work of art, that battle for P4 that's going on in terms of Copa Shell drivers, and the gap is now 1.267 seconds between Park and Choi. So it's Forza Motors Korea and the Blackbird Concessionaires organisation from Hong Kong in the battle there. In terms of Shell, Fujiwara, Yamaguchi and Zing, the 1, 2, 3. In terms of Trofeo Pirelli Am, it's Gomax and Philippe Pret and Nobuhiro Imada. And Gomax is just stretching his legs at the front of the pack. He's extended the lead now to some 3 seconds, and we've got just under 7 minutes of the race remaining. Still the fight going on between Kent Chen, Ray Wu and Andrew Moon. And again, the Mugello circuit here, as host of Finale Mondiali for 2019, has thrown up some brilliant racing. Now you can see Kent Chen has been able to get away because Andrew Moon is now pushing Ray Wu. And as aggressive as Ray Wu has been, of course, Andrew Moon has been a bit smoother and therefore has probably, in this stage of the race, got maybe a little bit more Pirelli rubber left.
Exactly. Probably he has a better tire now, and Kent is doing a good job in the last corner. So he finished with the chances of overtaking the first corner. That is the easiest corner to overtake. So he's doing a brilliant job in the last corner and staying in front with no mistakes.
We're taking a look at David Decker here, who's running P6 in Shell, and Vincent Wong, who is P7. And David Decker under a bit of pressure from Vincent Wong now. Let's get the live gap between the two of them. Well, it's 2 tenths. This is P6 and P7 in terms of Shell. It's P12 and P13 in the race. And David Decker then, who's been associated with the Asia Pacific Ferrari Challenge for a number of years. I remember speaking to him in a press conference last year, I think it was, but my memory fails a bit because I'm getting much older. But David Decker has been part of the Ferrari Challenge for a number of years and thoroughly enjoys it. So a bit wayward then from the car chasing, and that is the car of Vincent Wong. So Gomax, 3.1 seconds to the good, P1, and there you can see that 563 car. The back end of that car really looked loose, Daniel.
Yes, as I told you, you need to think about the end of this thing because it's quite easy to overheat the rear tires and start to lose stability on braking and traction. So let's see how he finished now, but for sure he seems to have a big degradation on the rear tires now.
And that degradation, you could see through that turn, there was almost a lump of rubber coming off the tyre, wasn't it? And, you know, we often hear in motor racing, people talk about marbles, and these are the rubber balls that are processed, aren't they, from the wear of the tyre?
Yes, exactly. If you see like out of the line, you can see a lot of marbles.
Right.
And especially like during a fight like this, you need to be careful to don't go on the dirty side of the track. So it's going to be much more difficult in the next few corners to have the pace because you have all these marbles on the tire.
And presumably, if you do go offline in trying to pursue an overtake, the grip is just gone.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's like driving on ice when you go to these marbles.
Well, this fight, see, Andrew Moon was on the back of Ray Wu just a few moments ago, but now Ray Wu, realizing there's only 3.5 minutes left, is literally depositing the kitchen sink, the anchor, anything else he can throw out of that car to try and get on terms with Kent Chen, who is leading in the AM classification. And all of a sudden, Ray Wu has got a second wind here. And in the final stages of this race, whilst appreciating that he's probably taken more out of those Pirellis than you thought possible, he is going to have a go in the closing stages of this race. You can see the car oversteering. The back end of the car is loose. So now Kent Chen has done a fantastic job of, at various points in the race, defending. He goes high and wide there to take advantage of the banking and get a little bit more momentum. And we could see exactly what you were talking about there in terms of the marbles on the outside or off the racing line.
And to give you an idea about the tire degradation, you see that the best lap of the race is 54.9. And now they are running in 56.0, so you have like 1 second degradation, even if you have less fuel in the car. You are lighter, but you're still going 1 second lower.
So we were just taking the look at the leaders in each particular class. Now, this could be critical as traffic becomes a part of this fight here. It happened in the North American race earlier on today, where traffic came in, and now you can see Wu is going to take a look. He's on the grass, Daniel! That was an unfortunate set of circumstances. And unfortunately, Ray Wu has paid the price, because once the back end of the car was on the grass, he was a passenger.
Exactly. Like, it was raining a lot yesterday, so it's not easier to drive the car in the grass, especially our wet grass.
What is really good to see is that Ray Wu is out of the car and he's perfectly okay. Credit to the integral safety of the car. Now, unfortunately, Kantitya Kimsiri, who was an innocent bystander, got caught up in that, and the car is now completely beached and goes nowhere. The safety car has been called for, and unfortunately, Daniel, I predict, and I don't get many things right, but I predict that we'll finish under the safety car.
Yeah, I think we won't have time to restart the race. But with this result, if I'm not wrong, we have a new leader in Coppa Shell, correct?
I think
in the championship.
My producer here is agreeing completely with you. Makoto Fujiwara will become the leader. Well spotted, Daniel. Wow. So would you put anyone at fault in that particular incident? I mean, you've got to have a go. If you see a gap, you're going to go for it, aren't you?
Yes, yes. Like, it's difficult to say. We saw it really fast, you know, so it's not easy to be a steward. I understand when I'm outside. When you are inside, it's so easy, you know, it's his fault, but it's quite difficult. I think, so let's see.
There is an argument, perhaps, that Kent Chen didn't know he was there. Because he came across, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Like, he was trying to overtake the lapped car, and maybe he pushed too late to the inside when the 5.5 car was already trying to overtake. So it's a difficult. We need more angle to say who has the fault, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, as it stands, the leaders in each class for Shell-Am will be Kent Chen in the 558 car, which looks a bit battle-worn, it has to be said. In terms of the Shell class, Makoto Fujiwara then, who now goes to the top of the points. And we are talking minuscule gaps between the top four, but even so, he goes to the top of the points now. It's been changed. 3-point margin he will have. And in terms of the Trofeo Pirelli Am, Go Max, who leads the race. And we are on the last lap, and it is behind the safety car. And inevitably, the checkered flag will fall as the safety car completes the final lap. So, a bit like the North American race that we had earlier on today here in Mugello, Daniel. Both races finished behind the safety car, which is never the way you want to see a race finish, is it?
Yeah, like if you are the leader and you are under pressure, you want the safety car.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, but for sure, as a spectator, it's always nice to see the fight until the end. And the North America race was super nice this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, what a race that was. Full of drama, that's for sure. We're on board with the Hublot safety car, which incidentally, the Hublot safety car driven by a former Ferrari champion, a guy called Beppe Scanetti, who, Daniel, and I'm waiting for your offer, it hasn't come yet, but Beppe Scanetti has given me a hot lap around this Mugello circuit. And he was very, very impressive. And at the moment, therefore, he is my #1 driver. You could, of course, change that by inviting me alongside you, although I'm quite concerned that you haven't done a lap of Mugello yet.
So I'm inviting you. I don't know if I can, but you are invited.
Thank you very much. Well, you're invited back into the comms booth at any time because you've done a great job for us. We're really grateful to you. So there are the cars then under the safety car then. Driver number 424 is being asked to report to race control after the race. Now that's Go Max, and that will be presumably, Daniel, going back to right at the start of the race in terms of him perhaps being a little bit out of position.
Yeah, I think it's probably because what happened after the start, when he has a contact, you know. But to be honest, it's quite difficult to know how many cars you have after the first one. You can see just the car that is side by side with you, you know.
Yes.
He can't. It's impossible to know that there is another car side by side with the other guy. So in the end, nothing happened, and I think his warning was enough.
Yes, I think I agree. That was very, very sensible stewarding going on. So behind the safety car then, Claudio Gherardini, of course, our race steward, and we're behind the Hublot safety car, which will now lead the cars into the checkered flag zone, where they will take the checkered flag, but of course not at racing speed, as the race concludes then, and Go Max will take the win of the race overall from Philippe Pret, P2, and Philippe's son Louis will be racing in the next race here at Mugello, because he takes part in the European Challenge. So sure enough, Go Max takes the win from Philippe Pret. Makoto Fujiwara, the best of the Shell drivers, he takes P1 in that class and P3 in the race overall, ahead of Nobuhiro Imada and Kazuki Yamaguchi and Yambin Singh and Jay Park and Michael Choi and Kent Chen and Andrew Moon and David Decker and Vincent Wong and the rest of the cars. And there you can see the standings on screen for you as well. Iwatani and Lau and Zhang Xiaoru and Moss and Zhu and Wu then, of course, who had tried so very hard to overtake, and unfortunately ended up in the gravel and making contact with the wall as well. I mentioned then with the contact he made into the wall, of course the gravel did its job. It's a safety feature, isn't it? It slows the car down, but even so, the integral safety of a 488 Challenge car is extraordinary. It's as safe as you can make a racing car.
No, yeah, exactly. It's a super nice car, super safe. I think we can see this when you have some accidents and the drivers are always okay. We had one in North America this morning, quite hard, and
yes,
you saw that he just go out from the car and walk to the box. So it's a really safe car.
Let's take a look at the highlights of the race then. And as everyone prepared for the start of the race, Yambin Singh was ready to get everything underway, and this was the car that would be taking them towards the green, the Hublot safety car that, of course, leads the formation lap, which is where we see the cars now. And as they head towards the lighting gantry and the lights go green, at one point as they head into turn number 1, they go almost 4 abreast. You can see that Philippe Pret got lent upon, and you're absolutely right, Daniel, and I saw it there better, how Go Max lent on Philippe Pret, who in turn then lent on to somebody else. So Go Max just taken the inside line, just leaned on another car, and that could have caused a bigger impact than it did. Throughout the race, there was plenty going on, and Vincent Wong was one of those that found the gravel, and this battle that would ensue between Andrew Moon and Kent Chen and also Ray Wu was extraordinary. Andrew Moon in the end losing out to Ray Wu, who was bold and ambitious in his overtakes and somewhat too bold on occasions, as a little bit of contact was made. But here is just how you want to be ahead of the car in front. You'll take every single piece of tarmac and curb and anything you can, but this is where it all went horribly wrong. And a big impact into the barriers, but thankfully Ray out of the car and perfectly okay, which meant that the Shark's Teeth of von Skeltermar, one of the European drivers, with watch on as the cars cross the finish line, unfortunately behind the safety car, with Go Max the winner in terms of Trofeo Pirelli Am, Makoto Fujiwara the winner in terms of Shell, and in terms of Shell Am, it would be Ken Chen that would take the honours. Confirmation then of the top three in each class: Go Max, Philippe Pret and Imada taking the 1, 2, 3 in Trofeo Pirelli Am. Then it was Fujiwara, Yamaguchi and Zing for Shell. Then it was Chen, Moon and Iwatani that took the top three in terms of Shell Am drivers. So with all the cars back into the pit lane then, the drivers will be hustled off up towards the podium. But they're in Parc Ferme first of all, and there you can see the congratulations will be offered and passed on, and the Pirelli P1 baseball cap will be put on. It's interesting, I've never thought of that. Pirelli P0, of course, the tyre, and of course when you take the win, Daniel, you are P1.
Yeah.
I'm getting very old. Congratulations and handshakes going on then. And the drivers, as I say, will be hustled off up to the podium. And there you can see, just behind those cars in Parc Ferme, of course, some of the F1 Clienti cars, which is just part of this Finale Mondiale weekend. Formula One cars of the past that are owned by clients of Ferrari, and you get the opportunity to drive one if you are the client of that car, the customer of that car, owner of that car. What must that feel like?
It should be amazing, and the noise is much better than nowadays.
I thought you might say that. Yes, it's a hark back to the past, isn't it, when F1 cars sounded somewhat different to the ones of today. Go Max P1, Philippe Pret P2, then Imada is P3, ahead of Jinsyaru, and Alex Moss then taking that P5 place. This the Trofeo Pirelli Am. Confirmation of the classification. Bear in mind, Go Max has got to report to the stewards after the podium, but there will be we don't think any penalty will be awarded following that little meeting that will go on. The podium there is being readied, as you can see, just awaiting the drivers, who have just a couple of flights of stairs to make their way up towards the podium. What's it like as a racing driver when you've got to climb those steps to the top step of the podium? You know, you've expended so much energy and adrenaline during the course of the race. You must be utterly exhausted, but you must find something to send you up with enthusiasm to the top step of the podium.
Of course, it's the best moment. It was you were working for to go there on the podium, to winning the race, so it's a good feeling.
Well, Go Max is going to be experiencing that as he makes his way to the podium now. And of course, we'll have podiums across the Pirelli Am, the Shell, and the Shell Am classes too. So, drivers not quite on the podium yet, but will be momentarily. Are you one of these drivers on the top step of the podium where you do this fantastic thing, which I've not learned to do because I've never won a race, so it's obvious, where you lift the bottle up and then bosh it against the floor and it just erupts, or are you a shake and let it go, fella?
I'm a standard shaker.
Okay, appreciate your honesty there. Michele Mambelli is the presenter that you can hear, who is about to invite the drivers onto the podium, which is literally just to our right-hand side, so we can see through our commentary position window just how many people are down there to support the podium. So we are seeing Nobuhiro Imada, Philippe Pret and Go Max then, who will head to the top step of the podium, the 1, 2, 3 in terms of Trofeo Pirelli Am. Well, the podium is going to be difficult now, Daniel, because the F1 Clienti cars have been released. And going back to what you were saying about the noise of those cars, that's going to drain out all the Davide Rigon fan club that are here. He, another one of our Ferrari official GT drivers like Daniel Serra alongside us, who's doing the trophy presentations. Nobiro Imada has received his, Philippe Pret has received his, and now Gomax receives his race winner's trophy. Complete with the sunglasses on. And of course, Pirelli trophy to be awarded also, as the F1 Clienti cars make their way around the 5.2-kilometer Mugello circuit. So all the drivers will get together for the photograph. Up your trophy, says Michele Mambelli then. That's it, rise your trophy. And time for the champagne. So the first of 3 podiums. Not sure how many of those we're going to be able to bring you because of restrictions in terms of the time that we're on the air. But here we can get the super slow-mo of the top 3 cars. Imada then P3 for Trofeo Pirelli Am. Philippe Pret P2. He, of course, already the Trofeo Pirelli Am champion. And P1 goes to the 44 car. And here it is, Gomax. So for M Auto Hiroshima, the race-winning car and race-winning driver on the top step of the podium, having collected his trophies. So in terms of classification, Fujiwara, Yamaguchi and Yanbin Singh are the top 3 with Shell, and that's the last podium we're going to be able to bring you. So P3, Yanbin Singh. P2 is Yamaguchi. And P1, Makoto Fujiwara.
He won the race and now he's leading the championship, correct?
Fantastic, Daniel. Yes, you're right. National anthem time.
Per questo podio di vincitore con Davide Rigon che presenta il trofeo d'onore per il...
So the anthem plays out then, and trophy presentation time. So once again, Davide Rigon makes the trophy presentations. Davide, like Daniel Serra alongside us, will be part of that fantastic Ferrari show on Sunday, which we will be bringing you live. You cannot afford to miss that. Recreating some of the special moments of Le Mans, which of course Daniel Serra won part of the victorious team. And there is the champagne. Daniel Serra, can I say thank you so much for being on air with us. You've made a big difference to the program.
No, it was my pleasure, and I hope my English was not too bad and you could understand everything I said, but it was my pleasure. I hope to be back soon.
It was very good, and I've remembered your invitation. From Daniel and from myself, bye-bye for now.